we talked about whether or not you had been offered anything, been promised anything for coming here today and giving this statement and cooperating in this investigation. And your answer was no, you had not. Is that true?
It's true. I haven't been promised a nickel.
Okay. And no one's threatened you with any type of harm or any retribution of any type if you have not cooperated and had not cooperated?
None whatsoever.
Okay. Everything that you've told us today, is that been the truth, to the best of your knowledge and recollection?
To the best of my knowledge and recollection. Maybe off on a date or something, but everything I've told you is true. Things I've experienced on my own.
Are you withholding any information from us at all?
Well, I'm sure there's stuff that I ain't told you, stuff I'm not too proud about, other things that have happened to horses. But yeah, so I'm sure there's a lot yet to cover.
Okay, so in other words, you're not purposely withholding any information from us, are you?
No.
Knowingly,
Such as there's like somebody's
intentionally?
hired me to come in and say this or say bad things or no.
Yeah.
No, that's everything I've told you is the way it is.
Okay. Polygraph examiner, who will be running a polygraph examination on the next individual I intend to introduce. Today, the main topic is going to be the horse slaughter industry and the activities of that industry.
When I got into the slaughter horse business, I had just finished shoeing school and was making my living as a certified farrier. I was shoeing horses. And my clients were, from time to time, you'd run into a client that had an extra horse, their friend had a horse, and they were interested in, as I told you before, that they seemed to think that the horse shoer was kind of the local expert on horses, and so a lot of loose horses came my way. And this person just really needs to get rid of it, or they're looking for a good home, whatever. It just got to where I saw that if I'm making money on it, then he's got to be making money on it, so why don't I cut him out? And as time went by, I found a way to cut him out. I got a contract. I had to go plumb to Texas to get the contract. I didn't physically go there. I got on the phone and started calling, and I found out that, yeah, I could get a contract from Great Western Meat. And I did. I got the contract, and I started buying killer horses anywhere I could buy them. In the paper, we'd look through the nickel ads. We'd go to shoeing clients, sale yards, even trapping wild horses. When horses got so hard to make $1 on them, I started trying to trap the wild ones and caught quite a chunk of them. You guys are interested in the treatment of it. You didn't intentionally shrink a horse. Of course, it was just the opposite. Because you were selling these horses by the pound, you wanted them to go down the road with flesh on them, because when they got to the slaughterhouse, that's what you were paid on. So when they were in the corrals at home, you kept feeding in front of them. But that was about the end of it. That's where it began and ended. The rest of it, they were out in the elements. There were no cover on the pens. It could be 110 degrees, and them horses that stand in the sun in that corral. They didn't have no shade when it would rain. I got pictures of a bunch of cowboys loading a truck, and you can't even tell what nationality we are. We're covered with mud, and the horses all look the same. I mean, the bays and the blacks, you couldn't tell the difference in them because they were so covered with mud. Cripple horses, standing there with open wounds in that mud like that, urine and all. These horses will, they could be dragging a leg and just racked with pain. And it's so bad that they couldn't hardly hold their head up, and they'd be whipped up the ramp into the truck to stand there to be shipped. I think I added the miles up the other day. I think it was 1,675. Just under 1,700 miles, non-stop. No stop for drink, no stop for food. If one falls down, he gets hot shot until he gets up. If he can't get up, he spends a trip laid down underneath them other horses. And the bad thing about that, you got one down, he's kicking for his life, he's going to knock another one down. And you end up with a domino effect. Crippled horses everywhere, and the truck just keeps rolling. He was always against the slaughter horse business, and he was open with us about it. But he came by the house one day, and he decided he was going to try it. He had a friend that wanted to sell a horse, and he knew he could buy the horse cheap. So he he went over and bought the horse and told the friend it was going to somewhere else. I don't know what he told him, church camp or something, I don't know. Whatever wild story Leonard gave him, then the horse appeared in the corrals, and Leonard made his profit. It probably didn't taste too good, but he got his profit, and the horse got turned in the pen with the rest of the killers. I didn't know where Leonard had come up with the horse until afterwards. Not that it matters, but we were loading the truck, and this woman pulls up and crawls up on the corral and says, I was by, and I saw my horse in this corral. And I said, I don't remember buying a horse from you, no, but it was that trailer that hauled my horse away. And she pointed to my trailer, and I just told me where she lived, and I just did not remember buying that horse. And I told her, no, lady, your horse ain't in this corral. She says, I'll give you a profit. If you're wanting a profit, just send my horse back. I finally told her, I get like I things do. Goodbye. Run her off. Truck gets loaded, we shut the gate, takes off down the road, and Bob and some of the other guys are snickering over there. I said, what's so funny? He said, that Leonard bought that horse. That's that horse that Leonard bought. And he borrowed our trailer to go pick it up. So the woman knew that was her horse in there. Thought I was lying to her, was crying and begging me to give her horse back. When you load these horses, you should make an attempt to sort them. There's some horses you just flat can't get in the bottom deck. They just physically can't get in there. But others that shouldn't get in there are put in there. They're hot-shotted down that ramp, and when they're going down that ramp and they go through that doorway, the doorway is a little bit lower than the deck. And when you're behind them with a hot shot, they're moving forward, and they'll hit the top of that door jamb, and it'll just scalp that wither, pull a hair in the hide and meat right off. And then they stand there and bleed and rub that open wound on those rails every time. Well, there's a rail about every 18 inches or so. Every time they get wrong way in there, they'll hit that wound, and that's got to be tough. The studs ain't sorted from the mare. Sometimes they are. If you got enough room to sort them, you'll sort the studs from the mares. But I was hauling some horses in a gooseneck from Cresswell up to Woodburn to hold them for another slaughter truck. This was some of Fort McLeod's horses that I was buying for Billy Quinlan. I was hauling these horses up, and there was a big stud, and I think I had a draft horse in there, and there was some mares. It was just a mixed load. Well, this one stud just lost his mind, and he was kicking and biting and just beating the daylights out of everything, and then knocked this draft horse down. And the draft horse, in the process of getting down, he got his foot out. I don't remember if it was between the rails or he got his foot out the rails of the trailer. It was through the deck. His foot went through the deck, and we had to stop on the side of the road and wrestle around to get his foot up out of the deck, and got him standing back up. But by the time we got to Woodburn, which is less than 100 miles, this stud had, most of the horses in there were bloodied. I mean, they were beat up pretty good. And this one horse, the bottom of his jaw was broken, and his teeth, this whole jaw was hanging down and just swaying. This dude was in some pain. Opened the gate, kicked him out into the pens there at Woodburn, and they held him, no medical attention or nothing. They held him there until the next truck come in to load him up and send him on up to Quinlan's place. I don't know if he was going to Washington from there or if he went straight to Canada, but that's, there's a million of those stories. They sell every horse with a halter, and I'm in a pen pulling halters off because we run them like cattle up this chute, and you didn't want them tripping on the ropes causing a wreck. And this mare, I wasn't watching her, and I look around, I see she's got her ass in pointed towards me, and she's fixing to fire on me, and I backed up and I found myself in a corner, and she went to kicking on me, and she kicked me I don't know how many times, knocked me plumb cold, and I'm laying on the ground. The horses are all in the pen are stomping on me, running around. The man got them off of me, and knew right then this mare's trouble. She's going to the house and going to the pen there. She's going to be kicking the cowboys when they feed. She's going to, kicking other horses. The truck driver taught me a trick. He'd shoot him in the eye with a BB gun if he had a kicker. When he put it on the truck, if the stud was kicking, he'd shoot it in the eye. And that BB had impeded in its eyeball, and the pain would be so intense and so long-lasting that he wouldn't think about kicking. He'd be more thinking about what's going on with my eyeball. So I tied this mare's head right there in the sale yard, tied her head to a post, and I had a fiberglass stock cane. It must have been 5 feet long. And I don't remember if it was left eye or right. I think I actually ruptured the eyeball, but I jobbed that cane in there, I don't know how many times, till our mare had her head down and that eye was swollen shut. And I got to admit, it did work. That mare didn't kick no more. But that kind of situation is pretty commonplace. I've taken a horse before that studs chew on other horses in the trailer, and then the horses go to jump, and then you get one down, and before you know it, you got a whole bunch down. So another trick I learned was to wire their mouth shut. You run a horse in the chute and take baling wire. You usually keep a halter on them, and in that corner ring on the halter, you wire your baling wire off, and then you dally it tight around that horse's mouth so it can't open that mouth. You can't open it, he can't bite. But then that horse he's going to try to bite, try to open his mouth. It's going to restrict his air. He can't swallow on nothing. But you wire him up tight, and you run him in the trailer, and he spends the next 1,700 miles without even being able to open his mouth. And the killer market was so weak that you'd do anything you could to make $1 off these horses. So I was bucking some horses to sell to the rodeo contractor. And this horse was another trainer had called me and said he's a bronc, you can't ride him. And the horse was kind of a bird-chested Arab anyway. I'm really not real clear on why we bucked him. Maybe it's just a hope that he had bucked like this trainer said he would. We put him in the buck and shoot, and our buck and shoots weren't good. They weren't Powder River or nothing. They were some homemade deal. The bottom gate about this tall off the ground. We was flanking this horse up, and he threw a fit and squatted down and stuck a leg out underneath that chute. And when he stood up, the ragged edge, because that didn't drag the ground, it was sharp. And what it did is it caught that horse's hide right below the knee and cut it and ripped that hide plumb down to his hock. I mean, just like you shoved your sock down over your ankle. Obviously, he wasn't going to buck then. And we didn't have no truck going out. That might have been one of the times when I was between, but I knew where to take him, was up to Hopewell. So I don't remember where we throwed him down or just eared him down or what, but we got that hide jerked back up and wrapped it up with who knows what. I don't know, maybe we might even use gauze on it, I don't know. But the horse didn't get, had dirt and crap in it, and he went to Hopewell. We dumped him out up there at killer pins, and he stood there in no telling what kind of fat had to hurt for days until we got a truckload together to ship on up. Then he would stand in the truck to ship to Washington. I don't know how many of these you want, but they just go on and on. There's no end to them. Yeah, the way I learned this was they taught me. The drivers taught me how to do this. Yeah, and other trainers too. It's commonplace. At least anybody that I know that's in the business that's the way they do it. He called me and had told me that the deck fell down that the driver had knocked this deck down on them horses, that he didn't have it chained up right, and that next time that truck was in, that I should maybe glance up to make sure he's got that deck chained. The way I understood it, the driver knew the deck come down and didn't stop, just kept driving with them boards all down over them horses. It was not at all unusual to get a kill report back that listed 1, 2, whatever head of horses dead in transit.
What kind of a report? Kill report?
Yeah, it's a kill report. What they tell you is you had this many 800-pound horses, or this many horses weighed this weights, and their grades were 1, 2, 3, or whatever their grade was. And it would show the weight and grade. Then it would show, I don't remember if it said died in transit or DOA or DO, whatever, but there was a listing on the bottom of the sheet that said how many died in transit. And then, like I say, it was a pretty common occurrence. I would say it was about half the time you'd end up with dead horses on the truck.